Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Well, we are definitely going to be experiencing far different weather conditions than what we experienced yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon, we rose into the lower to mid-50s. Snow was melting all over the place. It was a little breezy, but overall a very nice day. Well, the Arctic cold front has gone through, and with it, much colder temperatures. Today, we'll be struggling in the mid-30s at most along the coast, but the good news is that we will be dry. Arctic high pressure that's currently over the Great Lakes will continue to drift to the east, and eventually that's going to lead to a pretty impressive warm-up for the rest of this week. But for today, temperatures in the mid-30s, it's going to be rather chilly out, and the winds are still going to be generally around 10 to 20 miles per hour through at least this early afternoon, and then they'll slacken off towards this evening. But the key factor here is that temperatures are going to remain rather chilly for today, averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees below normal. The good news, of course, is that this will not last, and by tomorrow that high pressure system is moving towards the east coast, and as a result, we'll start to warm up as winds shift to the southwest. Tomorrow, look for highs in the 40s, and then by Thursday, highs in the 50s. What about Friday? Well, let's take a look at the latest forecast. This is the European model guidance from the Penn State eWall for Thursday night, and as you can see, high pressure is off the east coast, and we are in a strong southwesterly flow. Now, this low pressure system and cold front that's over the northern plains will not reach the northern mid-Atlantic until Friday night, which means that the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area will be under a strong southwesterly flow through Friday afternoon. And that means 60s. That's right, lower 60s can be expected by Friday afternoon throughout the entire northern mid-Atlantic. So say goodbye to any snow that's left on the ground, at least for most locations. The interior might hang on to some snow, but a great deal of the snowpack is going to melt off here. And spring-like temperatures can definitely be expected, but they won't last long. This cold front that is going to approach the northern Atlantic by Friday night will bring a drastically colder air mass into the region. And unlike today's air mass, where it's basically limited to a duration to only about 24 hours, this new cold pattern is going to be a little bit more supportive in the upper level pattern. And I'll show exactly why next. This is 850 millibars on Thursday evening. Now, obviously, it's very warm, but I want to keep your attention on the cold air mass that's over central Canada. That's a very cold Arctic air mass that is basically established over much of Canada, with the exception of southeastern Canada because of our ridge that's in place. This cold air mass is going to have a major role on the northern mid-Atlantic for early next week as a potential storm starts to develop. At 500 millibars, you can see that the pattern is starting to take shape here. We have a weak developing negative NAO pattern starting to form here with a very strong upper level low to the east of the Canadian Maritimes, but it's being blunted or shifted off to the east because we have a strong polar vortex over northern Canada. So that basically means the impacts of this NAO pattern is an east-based negative NAO pattern, which limits the impacts on the east coast. As a result, a ridge is able to build, and we remain rather warm for the end of the week. But notice this strong disturbance over the northern plains. That strong disturbance will allow a west-based negative NAO pattern to take shape. By Saturday night, we can see drastic changes starting to unfold in the 500 millibar pattern. Now, we still have our trough over the west coast and the southwest, and that's going to keep our southeast ridge in play here. But notice how strong our upper level low gets off the New England coast. This upper level low will eventually take its place over the Canadian Maritimes. Meanwhile, our polar vortex has dropped south into the Hudson Bay and will continue to slide southwest, and that will allow a west-based negative NAO pattern to develop. However, it's going to be a weak one, and this is important. On Monday night, we have our west-based negative NAO pattern established, but it's a weak one. It isn't able to overcome the southeast ridge, which means that if this upper level low is shifted a little bit further north, and I'm talking about maybe 100, 150 miles, then the storm track of this upper level disturbance that is approaching from the mid-Mississippi River Valley is going to be shifted a little bit further north. And this is going to be extremely important because of where the Arctic cold front sets up and the exact track of the low pressure. If the low pressure system for Monday night into Tuesday tracks from, let's say, central Ohio to Albany, then most of the region can expect rain. However, if this upper level low and this upper level disturbance is forced to the south, suppressed to the south towards the mid-Atlantic coast because of this negative NAO pattern, then there is a greater potential for a rain-snow mix along the coast and a accumulating snowfall over the interior. There could even be a case for some accumulating ice along the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas. We'll have to keep an eye on exactly how this pattern evolves. A little shift north or south of this 500 millibar pattern will have a drastic impact on the forecast for Monday night into Tuesday. This is the 850 millibar temperature forecast for this same period, and you can see just how tightly packed the isotherms are. And this basically tells us that a little shift north or south of this low pressure track would be a huge difference between the northern Atlantic staying below freezing with wintry precipitation and this 850 millibar freezing line shifting well to the north because the track is further north and thus all rain. The difference between minus 6 degrees Celsius and 6 degrees Celsius is very small, and such a small change in the track would have a huge impact on the forecast, as you can see. Now, the Canadian model guidance is far warmer because it makes this low pressure system over the mid-Mississippi River Valley much stronger, and as a result, you end up with a warmer result for the forecast. You end up with more rain because more warm air is able to overwhelm this cold air mass. So again, we've got to keep an eye on this. This could be more of an ice threat than anything else based on the fact you have high pressure sitting up over Ontario. So we clearly are going to have to keep an eye on this, especially for the interior. And of course, you can see at the surface here all the different players in play here. We have our area low pressure that is approaching the Ohio Valley. Again, if this low tracks due east towards, let's say, Delaware, then much of the northern Mid-Atlantic is looking for a rather icy and potentially snowy Tuesday morning because we have high pressure locked in over Ontario and ridging down the east coast. However, if this low pressure system is a little bit stronger and able to track up towards the Hudson River Valley, then obviously warmer air is able to overwhelm this cold air mass, and basically rain will fall along the coast and potentially a rain-snow mix or an icy mix over the interior. We'll have to keep an eye on this low pressure system. Probably won't get the exact details until this weekend, but it's clearly something we're going to have to keep an eye on, especially after all this warm weather. The boundary layer is going to be a huge factor in exactly what's going to fall and how much. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA weather as your weather source for the northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.